Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7 of Let's Get Cinematic. This is a movie podcast for those who don't know, and every episode we'll talk about a different movie. And this time we're talking about My Bloody Valentine. And I am joined by Jacob Black, Jason Hester, and Matthew Festel.
No.
And none of us worked on this movie.
Fair enough.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately we couldn't get anyone from it, right?
I'm actually friends with the guy that played TJ, Paul Kellman, and Helen Udy. I'm friends with them on Facebook, but I didn't reach out to them.
Right.
I think they're both... I don't know if they know how to use Discord or anything.
Yeah.
So I didn't
And
reach
we
out.
are reviewing the My Bloody Valentine 1981.
Yeah.
Oh darn it, we watched the wrong one, guys.
Oh no. Oops.
We had some issues starting the movie up, actually. Like, that took
Yeah, it took about
a lot of
hours.
time.
But
Well-
you resolved it,
Yeah,
right? You
yep.
resolved it, and now you got it all down. Nice and
Got
smooth.
Master Blaster here ready to go.
Yes.
But yeah,
Only thing though is you didn't get the Ripper.
yeah.
Now, did you guys watch the theatrical cut or the
No,
uncut
we watched the uncut.
version? Oh, excellent.
And,
That was good.
Yeah.
That was cool, like, to see the differences.
So, before we get really into it all, I guess spoiler free, what is everybody's kind of opinion on the movie itself without going into details and stuff?
I had a personal love for it. I grew up on the movie when HBO was a thing early on when it was first playing. It was something popular. 80, 82, I'm not sure.
It was 81.
And, I was staying over at my adopted dad's house for the weekend because him and my mom had split. And it was cool as over there is, he would less monitor what I'm watching over there. So I was able to pick up on all kinds of goodies. But
Nice.
My Bloody Valentine was one of them. I remember it coming on, it was coming on next. And I was just So I sat there and watched it. And of course, being a kid, it kind of scared me. But it was so cool. So I guess I got a personal liking to it. Some people may not like it, but I would give it a higher rating just because my personal bias.
Yeah, I would say I honestly think it's one of the best slasher movies from the 80s. I think it's kind of up there among the best ones. The first time I watched it was on the Scream Factory Blu-ray, the year that Blu-ray came out. So I didn't watch it that many years ago, really, for the first time.
Yeah.
Nice. So that was a rewatch for both Jason and Kody,
Yes.
right? And then Jacob. So
Yes.
Jacob, was that a rewatch for you as well?
No, I don't think
That
he
was
ever
the first
saw
time I've
it.
ever even seen it or heard it.
Virgin eyes.
Yup, that's right.
Very cool. No, it's the first time for myself as well. I briefly, I saw the remake around when it came out, and I knew of the original. I knew when the remake 3D was coming out. I knew that was a remake, but I think I was in middle school or something when that movie came out. So it was one of those things that was I had to go find a way to go see those movies. And so I just never saw this one. It just has always kind of just floated by, and it's been on my watch list for years at this point. But yeah, I overall I totally dug it. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was cool, the whole setting and the holiday angle. You don't see too many Valentine slashers done that well, I think.
Honestly,
And that was really
to my
fun.
knowledge, I think there's only 3 Valentine's Day slasher movies. I think there's only 3.
Wow, that's why it feels rare. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels you don't see it often.
And then like,
wait, you would Valentine be one of the other ones?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the Cupid mask from like
Yeah.
the early 2000s or something. And then what else?
the remake of My Bloody Valentine.
Wait,
Yeah,
so there's got to be other like
there's none that I know of.
Valentine slashers,
I
right?
look it up.
There's none that I know.
Well,
of.
there's that one ex I murdered years ago that they haven't found out about, but we'll just keep that on the down low, guys. Okay.
What?
Oh, I think Happy Death Day. That one.
No,
came
that's
up
not
like a
Valentine's
recent
Day.
one.
That's not Valentine's
It's
Day.
not. I
Yeah.
don't know why it came up here. Let's see. Got a list here.
Wait a minute, I
Like
think I just
Valentine's-
incriminated myself.
I was gonna say, well, going off of Valentine, not to change the subject, Valentine, is that what that one was, right? With David,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Boreanaz.
yeah, Angel,
Yeah.
Buffy,
Denise Richards, I can't stand her.
Oh, yeah, she is in it.
She's in that too. Yeah, that's right.
There was a
it had
couple.
some.
There was a
that
couple
again,
people.
post Scream, but it had some fun kind of kills in it. I remember. But oh gosh, that was just kind of like a strange like time period because it was post Scream and it was like kind of that. I don't know, the Cupid mask killer, and I think now, did you hear about the thing Eli Roth is releasing?
Yes, the VR.
Yeah, you guys interested in that? Or?
What is it?
Yeah,
I've not
actually
heard of
clicked
this.
on your post about it, saying that I was interested. I think it's got
So-
that chick from Cobra Kai in it as well.
Yeah, she's like the lead or something. So, Kody and Jacob, if you haven't heard of it, he's doing this thing called, I think it's called Be Mine, and it's
Yes.
a VR experience that he's doing, I think on February 10th.
What?
So you can go on with your headset and experience it, or I think
Look around. You can
watch it
look around the
on a
rooms and
Yeah.
stuff like that too with the VR.
And so I don't know if you don't have VR, if you're able to still like bring it up on a screen. You're just limited, obviously, to what you'd be able to do, probably. But I don't know, like
You'd probably have
the
to do it with your computer mouse.
extent of it. But it sounds
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can watch it without the VR. I think it said, but I think you are kind of limited on your 360 roam.
You probably have to use your
Yeah, 'cause,
computer
I mean,
mouse to like move the screen,
yeah.
like click and drag.
I've seen like music videos, and I don't have a headset, so I was just using the
yeah,
mouse on the VR music videos.
Nice.
So I imagine, I would want to experience it the right way, but also it would just be cool to see.
I've got a headset, so I might do that. We'll see. I got.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that'd be sick.
Oh yeah, and then Jacob, what did you think of this?
I thought it was pretty good, especially for its time and everything. Like, it didn't really it was obviously it's kind of campy. It's the '80s, but like, I don't know. It had a really good like like a good vibe and environment. Like the music choice was really really good. It really made it suspenseful. Just like Matt said, like the whole just the whole environment, everything. Just it was really unique and interesting.
It was like the atmosphere
I
of
could
it.
kind of tell. I think they've. Yeah, was this filmed in Canada? Because I kept hearing swords.
Yeah.
And, just that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember watching plenty of Degrassi when I was with my ex, so yeah, I can pick up on that pretty well. Oh my gosh.
Hey, that might be a good place to start about the musical score by Paul Zaza. And since we got a musical buff here, it'd be perfect. I like the score. I thought it was original. I thought it was creepy, especially how it starts out. Even when it started to soften for the little love beach scents scene when they were catching up, Sarah and TJ. But I really liked it. It was unique. And I think it definitely added to the atmosphere, and plus even like the end credit songs, Jim Croce kind of feel to it. That I always sit. I don't know why, but I was always sit and I'll let that song play and watch the whole credits.
Yeah. I do that too. Like, I watch the credits for every movie I watch, though. I don't turn the movie off.
It's fun to watch credits.
Yeah.
And I think with this one it was kind of funny because I know Kody doesn't talk, like, because Kody, the way he's told me about the way he experiences films, does not talk during films. And I'm like, that's great. We all hit mute. We're watching the movie. It gets out of sync at one point. We ask him to pause it. He fixes it. It's back in sync. It's all good. The rest of the movie. And then the credits start, and it's like, oh, like I'm getting transported into almost like this folky. There's this like, I can't get away from it because it's a Valentine's Day movie. But there's this like folky Valentine's Day feel to this credit song at the end, and like I can't help but think it sounds sort of like Celtic, like Irish, like in a weird way. Even down to like some of the way the singing, like the pronunciation of the words are, where I'm like, now we're not like Canadian anymore. Now we're totally over in
there was
place.
I think there was like an Irish kind of aura over the movie though, a little bit, and even in other parts I kind of felt
it had that kind of vibe with instrumentation. Maybe that's what it was, but it was cool because I really liked that kind of
TJ's voice kind of felt kind of Irish too, almost.
And there was something about his performance that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of funny in a way, but like not in a bad way, you know, but it was like it helped the movie too. And I thought that was cool. You know, there was a lot of cool little things about the acting. Like I liked the was it Newby, right? Jake Newby, who you know, the chief, right? Newby. Yeah. He was like really solid, you know, solid kind of cop character. So yeah, it checked all those marks, which was cool, and it had kind of a misdirection opening. I don't know, like what you guys thought about the opening. It was kind of
was interesting.
Yeah, a lot of misdirection, which I totally loved. About it, how they kind of set you up with the past and then the present, but then it still is the past is relevant, but then that's the kind of whole reveal. And of course, we're doing spoilers. This is an old movie, so if anybody hasn't seen it, watching, you might want to hit pause, go watch it. Definitely, it's blasphemy if you don't, and click back on.
I think it's a bad. I think it's a bad idea to watch a podcast talking about a movie if you've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I would say is unless you don't plan to see that movie.
Yeah.
And then maybe by going and listening to a podcast, maybe somehow it makes you want to watch it.
But then you'll have stuff spoiled for you.
I've done that before.
You'll have stuff spoiled for you, though.
You know,
some people, I can tell you straight up, some people, not speaking for myself, but I've talked to other movie fans, some people don't care about spoilers.
That's wild.
Some do, obviously, but I know people that don't care. Like they'll go and read stuff online before they go and see it because they're just like, "Well, I'm going to see it," and I'm like, "Well, I like the surprise, but you can spoil it for yourself if you want."
Because I like the feeling that you get when you're watching a movie and something surprising happens, and you're like, "Holy cat!" Like you get more into it.
True.
Like when you're not expecting it, you get sucked into it more.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a pit.
Yes. Oh, good.
I thought Matt and KR. I thought Keith Knight, the actor, he was playing Hollis in the movie. If there was an updated version, I could totally see Jackson playing him.
That's cool.
Maybe.
After watching Hacked last night, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
That's funny. Oh, yeah, you watched Hacked. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh.
What do you guys think about the writer, John Beard? I actually thought it was a well-written story that didn't drop a lot of droplets. It had misdirection, but it didn't give you this kind of like
what I was gonna say about
misdirection.
What I was gonna say about the writing is like a lot of slasher movies from this time have very one-dimensional characters, and some of the characters in this feel a little bit deeper than most slasher movie characters. Like they felt there was more going on with these characters. I felt like it's like the writing. I felt like for the characters themselves.
Yeah, they were definitely.
I feel like the writing of those characters themselves was pretty strong.
Oh, definitely. They were really fleshed out, and then didn't get boring doing so.
Yeah, there's a lot more development than there usually is, like Kody said, in these, movies. Because usually it's just, they just show them for, like, just however long. They don't really get a story or whatever. They're just stupid kids out in the middle of nowhere or whatever, and then they're going to get killed. Who cares?
Which I gotta be devil's advocate, because I do agree I loved a lot of it, but still, like, after the dance is canceled and everything, wanting to go do the party in the mine, or get a group to go to the mine, probably... not the smartest of ideas, like just all things considered, even just for safety reasons, not about like a potential killer or anything.
Well, because the kids didn't know. The kids didn't know about the murders.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though. I'm just saying going in a mine shaft in general, not the smartest of choices for characters.
Oh, and these guys weren't even really kids, if I think about it. Like, they were kind of, like, older.
That's what I was going to say, too, next. Yeah.
True. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think
but no, like I still love like so much fun.
It is kind of one of the few flaws, because being in those mines responsible, those guys know what kind of things can go wrong real quick down there, and they would probably we can party outside but not down in the mines, so
like close by. But like again, that's super nitpicky, because I understand though too. By creating that scenario, that's how you get new creative forms of storytelling or settings for horror movies. Like, because otherwise you don't probably have that.
I think the mine finale. The mine I think helps towards the end, because it helps you separate TJ and Axel. So you're kind of on your first viewing, you're like, oh, who is the killer?
Yeah. Dude, yeah, like I completely
definitely.
When TJ comes back at the one part, I was like, ooh, wait a second, and then and then it worked, and then it kind of goes forward a little bit, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind, like But the whole reveal was really, I thought that was really cool with Axel.
Yeah, they kind of set that up from the beginning. It's like no holds barred to who it could be. Then you start kind of narrowing it down, and of course TJ totally fixed, because he's been there before, left, came back, and as soon as he comes back, these murders are happening. There's the love triangle dynamic between Axel and Sarah and him, which I liked. That was well written. It was a great, ingenious concept there, and I think that, like you said, the whole mine thing was crucial to it, because I feel like the mine was another added character. It was a character itself in there. The mind is scary in itself, the claustrophobic feeling, a character of horror in the movie, because it does look dark, but yet, this thing could cave down on you. You could get lost. There's just, it just had its own character monstrosity to it in itself.
Like 100%, because once it get, like what you just said, the being crucial to the story, the final few shots, what happens really is there is a collapse at one point, and there's this whole destruction that does happen, and then with the reveal, the arm, the him getting away from the other side, which is again super cool, like idea with barriers and heavy things that you're not going to be able to just like lift up and get through really quick, like, but you can see him scurrying off, like it's, I don't know, like that's with the laugh and everything, like that's cool stuff. Like,
I think the ending's awesome. Like pretty. it's pretty eerie. The ending.
Yeah, it almost seemed like with Jason, like since you saw it, you said like you grew up with it. Was there ever a part of you when you watched it that was like, is there gonna be another one? Like,
definitely.
Like, because of that ending, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because I'd gotten into, my grandma got me into like Friday the 13th and Chainsaw Massacre and stuff. So I already had this like formula already crammed in my head of how that goes, you know what I mean, with the slasher movies in a sense. So this one kind of pulled the rug out from under me because it was long before discovering Argento and how he's a master of this mystery and finding out who you think it is doing it. So there was that element there, but when it got to the end, it really creeped me out of who it was, and then how he talked, and his little voice, his whole voice and stuff, My Bloody Valentine, and God, it creeped me out. Like I just sit there and stared at it when I was a kid, like, oh, that's what? It ain't the bad guy, and it made me like want to go back and watch it again and again to see, okay, wait a minute, did they slip up? No, they tidied that up pretty good where you don't give away who it is. But then years after that, it was kind of like, okay, this movie should have a sequel. I mean, I don't know about topping it, but definitely have a sequel to it. There should be a follow-up. Nothing ever happened. I mean, the look was iconic. The look of Harry Warden was fitting and iconic, and it really fit because it's kind of like the Michael Myers Halloween thing, is he could be anybody on that day. But what I think separates with Harry Warden's outfit was all of them had that same outfit. Like no matter what time of day, year it is, they all have that outfit. So it could be anybody, just anybody. So the story was always open I felt like for a sequel. So it never got one. So it was kind of like a standalone. But when the 3D remake came out, I'm sure we'll get into that later. I don't want to get too far on that, but
we'll do that as a separate. We'll do that as a separate video.
Do you guys have any intake why you think maybe they didn't do a sequel? Because it was iconic. I don't think it was a failure, or do you think it just stood alone so much on its own?
I'm actually surprised.
That's a good question. What do you think?
Like, I'm surprised they never made a sequel. Like, because like slasher movies were like a huge deal in that little time period, and like Friday the 13th was getting all kinds of sequels. Halloween was getting sequels, and this movie just didn't, and it's just weird.
I think, okay, so here's what I think happened. From what I've read, or what I can find, it looks like it had a budget of $2.3 million. This is Canadian. And it grossed $5.7 million. So theoretically, they usually say, and this is not always like exactly the numbers, but it's sort of like a rule of thumb that they say, if your budget was like $2 million, let's just say it's not 2.3, $2 million bucks, you got to basically make that and then double because of marketing costs and all of the finishing costs and deliverable costs. So that basically whatever your budget is in Hollywood for whatever you guys are spending, it's going to be basically like you got to make double that to break even. So then if this movie had like 2.3, it made 5.7 at the box office. That's probably just like, maybe the studio was like, it's a little bit of a success, but we wanted to make more money on it. So maybe they didn't believe in it enough. But obviously it found on home release, it found an audience, on video and on everything else to follow. So it's interesting that because I was going to ask, sorry, not to get off topic, but it's about this. But did you guys read about like that? There's 9 minutes of cut footage, and that the uncut version that I think Lionsgate initially released, that is the one that's on there. They only got 3 minutes of the footage to put back. So apparently there might be 6 more minutes of stuff that's cut as well. But I don't know. Like I have to really like look into that. But that's kind of just what I gathered. So I didn't know about that. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's totally true. You're getting the uncut version, but it's the extra 3 minutes. There was a longer version, and I think I tried to track it down at one point, and it was in Germany, and it's very rare, and I don't think the person was going to come off of it. If they did, you're going to get like $600 for a VHS or something. But
Right.
yeah, it's like crazy stupid. Just like Friday the 13th, the final chapter. There's actually a longer cut. I don't want to deep dive in the specifics of it, but it's just like, wow, I want to see that. And I think that's also isolated in another country, different language, etc. But it's not very attainable to get.
Why do you think they do that?
Yeah, these.
The MPAA was just. I mean, it's a lot lenient nowadays, which we have the director's cut option and unrated. So a lot of times the director's like, screw you. Okay, here's your stuff. Now I'm going to release my cut, and the audience definitely knows that. So if it's going into a movie they liked, but, they have that option of following back up onto it. But back then, they didn't do a lot of that. A lot of the stuff was cut to get to the theater, and it was the same one you would see, of course, at home or on home video.
Yeah, it wasn't right. Like until really they were getting way more hardcore in the 90s, I believe, right? With Clinton and stuff, it was getting to be a little more. And they even did the whole parental advisory thing with CDs, and it was just become like in general. Not necessarily censorship, but kind of, but in some instances. And then, like you said, with the different home releases, now we can get these cuts of movies like from basically Lost or not Lost, but I mean, Zack Snyder's version of Justice League is a great example. There's a lot of things like that where it's like, oh, this was like a fabled film, and now it's like, no, it's a real thing. Or it was, and no one believed it, and then they actually did it, and they dropped it or whatever. But it's just like kind of cool that like Lionsgate eventually did at least do some kind of uncut version that had some of that stuff in it.
I wonder if
there's just.
I wonder if this like ever gets like a 4K release, they'll try to like put in the rest of that.
That'd be nice.
Well,
that would be nice if they could track down that footage and it'd be useful.
Right, because I was going to actually ask. I thought they've done that. Scream Factory specifically has done that.
Oh, they did a 4K already?
Some of their... No, I'm saying in general for certain films, like some of these newer ones that they've been doing, they're like I don't know if they're including them in all the cuts because I don't buy every release, but like in some of them they're saying that they have, we have obtained this scene from the TV cut of I think like Child's Play 3 or something, and this scene wasn't in the theatrical version, but it was in the TV version on CBS or some shit. And then we were taking that and we're putting it in, into this new release or something, so they're like doing stuff like that. So maybe, like you said, if Germany had a home release of it at one point, theoretically, right, someone could take that VHS as a master, and if the negatives are gone, and they can take that and try to upscale it the best they can to 1080, like in a sense, and then try and stitch it into the master of this uncut.
You're
version.
Exactly right, Matt, because they did that for Silent Night, Deadly Night. They
That's
had the
what
footage,
it was.
but it wasn't so great of footage. You can tell the graining and what have you. They did.
It looked kind
the
of bad.
best they could on it. So, there's scenes where it looks bad, but you get to see more of what it was intended to be.
But see, that's cool. I would rather it looks bad or not the best,
so that it's there.
than not at all. I think that's cool. Like, honestly, like, again, not to get sidetracked, but Kody and I talk about Full Moon Features all the time because we're fans of their stuff, and they did that Legacy box set recently, and there's like 3 titles on the first volume that like have never been on Blu-ray yet, and one of them they found the negatives, the originals, and they actually remastered it, and it looks pretty good on Blu-ray. Kody knows the film. It's the last, is it Foxtrot?
Last
Foxtrot
in Burbank.
And then the other 2 that were like never on Blu-ray before were like basically clip show like compilations that they did in like the 70s, and they have probably the original footage of their wraparound that they shot, but think of it, how are you, like, if you're doing clips of someone else's movies, you're probably acquiring that stuff at the time. So in this day and age, are you going to be able to find these like weird 70s like European cult films that were part of this clip show? And like, no, you're probably just going to be remastering like VHS as masters and then putting them onto a Blu-ray best you can. And that's what Full Moon did. And they were like upfront about it of like, look, we don't have all of these elements from these two titles, so they're kind of like the best we could do for like a Blu-ray. And I'm like, well, that's cool because it's better than not doing it or not having it like live on in a new format. So I just thought that was kind of like interesting if like you said, Scream Factory is kind of just taking and saving what they can, preserving it. It's cool.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
I wonder if this does get a 4K. I wonder if it would be Scream Factory to do it.
Well, did they do the one you have right now?
Yeah, they did the Blu-ray.
They did.
But I've noticed there's a couple of examples where like Kino or Vinegar Syndrome will get something that Scream Factory used to have.
Yeah, like how they just got From Beyond.
Yeah, and then Kino got the New Year's Evil movie. Kino got New Year's Evil, and the older Blu-ray was from Scream Factory.
He's got the Scream Factory. I've got the Kino, and I think that's cool you said that because Scream Factory did release it, and that's the copy we have. They also did on Blu-ray of uncut versions of Escape from New York, Exorcist 3, and those copies they've re-released in 4K.
Yeah.
So some of those, like My Bloody Valentine, was kind of like, okay, why haven't you done that one yet? So maybe it is totally up for grabs.
Yeah, so it might be up for grabs.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Jacob, why aren't you grabbing it?
Grabbing what?
It's up for grabs. Get it.
It's up for grabs.
Yeah, Jacob, buy the rights, buy the distribution rights to My Bloody Valentine, Jacob, and then you distribute it in 4K from your label, Jacob Black Films.
I'm gonna release it on Laserdisc. Sorry about it. 10 copies. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
it.
This guy, I tell you this thing. That's it. I'm taking him out of my cool book.
On Laserdisc.
I have some artificial scarcity up here. Yeah, that's right. I'll put it on a freaking Game Boy Advance cart, like they did with the cartoons.
Oh my god.
We're watching the Game Boy Advance.
What about UMD? What about UMD?
UMD.
On your PSP.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll do that too. We'll do like one or two on there.
Trauma put the Toxic Avenger on UMD just a couple of years ago, and PSP hasn't been. PSP's been dead, and they put it out even though PSP's dead.
That's amazing.
That is hilarious, dude.
I love that.
I was gonna say, in regards to, it was something to do with My Bloody Valentine. It was, I thought it was something back on topic, but I'm off topic. Sorry, guys.
While you're digging that up, I was going to ask Jacob what he thought of his experience being something 80 and long ago, but still effective. Touching base on that is, of course, we like that it was written about the three triangle between Axel, Sarah, and TJ.
Oh, yeah.
But I also thought, and the older I got, especially being younger, I thought it was also ingenious that they made a slasher movie on Valentine's Day. Now, everyone was on the craze and the money train of Black Christmas and Halloween.
Yes.
But man, I think it fit and saturated itself more into the genre of standing alone because everyone always has those breakups. Yes. We've all spent Valentine's Day alone. We have always been like, even if you're not a big Valentine person, can care less, like me and my girlfriend are, but yet we still do stuff for each other.
Yeah.
And even if you're just like not a holiday person, you're still like, yeah, bleh, I'm gonna throw up on that. It makes me want to throw up my mouth. All this, buying all this stuff. You're just keeping the economy going anyway. I think that could play a part into people filling the seats to see this, because it's just like, even if you're like alone, you're like, yeah, everybody out at the junior high dance. I don't have a date, but I'm watching this. Or if you're like,
I did stuff like that.
Hell with holiday.
I did like
here and get some popcorn and enjoy.
I didn't go to dances
Prom
and
night can kind of be like that too.
Yeah, I didn't go to. I never went to a single dance in middle school or high school. Like, I would stay home and just watch movies on those nights.
Yeah, that was probably worth it to do that, honestly.
Well,
I remember going. Sorry,
I had some friends that went, so then I kind of end up going. Funny, I have to bring up some pictures, but I had hair longer than you, Matt. My bangs was down to my elbow.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was on the total rise of Slayer, Metallica, Overkill, those bands.
Oh yeah.
So we had to look, but it was kind of funny because we were just kind of like garage band people, like, oh yeah. But girls would ask us out, and we're like, okay, we got to go, guys. We got to be like that mainstream person,
Yeah.
So we'd get like little sweaters. We'd wear sweaters so we look nice, but we ripped jeans and do the ponytail thing or hairspray that shit. So we kind of were the screw this thing, but we did go to some dances. So we've, a lot of my friends had both sides of it. So that was definitely a popcorn piece over the years.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I typically watch this movie like almost every year since I first saw it. I don't think I watched it last year though. Like, I think I skipped it last year, but I definitely watched it like the last maybe year, like maybe 2 years ago or something.
Well, I was gonna say, going off of what Jason was saying earlier, I could see how this would be one of those, like Kody. I could see how it could be like a traditional watch or experience. But going off of what Jason said, it kind of reminds me of like how you said people that might not be into the holiday or holidays going to like have this as a good getaway for Valentine's Day in the theater when it comes out or at home. It reminds me of like one of the, maybe multiple of them, of the Saw films they released on DVD at the time, because it was after the October window of theaters. They would drop them on DVD like around Valentine's Day, and I remember like one of the radio ads, because I was in like elementary school when the first Saw movie came out. So I just remember like the second and third one when they were coming out. One of them was getting dropped around Valentine's Day on DVD, and I just remember that ad, and it was like totally laying into like, this Valentine's Day, like for horror lovers, like, yes, there will be blood, the typical. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. And like, horror fans would like to just watch people go get killed for, for Valentine's Day instead of, enjoying, this idea of what this Hallmark holiday would call it. So I just thought that was really funny. And it's a good escape for that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think the kills in this are like pretty brutal too. Like, they're kind of, it's one of them. I think it's one of the more brutal slasher movies kind of from this little era.
Absolutely, like just like the level of like the gore and just like the organs looked real, and like just like like in the very first kill scene, you see that pickaxe go through that girl's back into the chest. I was like, what? That was sick. Like, that was crazy. Oh my gosh.
And I think
it's just so real.
I think
Hollis was butchering that beginning one.
I think Hollis's death is like pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Because he's still alive.
Like, what?
He's still alive, like, after each nail.
I like the fact that it wasn't a direct kill like you see on a lot of the previous day contemporary stuff. It's like it took him a couple times to put this, Hollis down.
Yeah,
I think that's how it'd really be. He's like, okay, is he? No, bam.
A little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit in there still.
That's like a
Messed up
pretty
animals.
messed up kill, I think. That's wild.
Mhm.
I was also gonna say when they find Mabel, that was pretty fucking weird.
Oh
That was
yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Like when they did that whole scene, I was like, oh
That was kind of that was kind of
Yeah.
You don't
gnarly.
see none of that shit in the theatrical version.
Yeah.
No.
What was that?
You don't
You
see
don't
that.
see none of that shit in the theatrical version.
Yeah.
The whole
I
scene
believe
of
it.
him reaching into her chest cavity to get the card,
Yeah.
that was cut from it. So
Yeah.
you guys got a real treat actually seeing that.
Totally. Wow.
Yeah, and like the kill scene with the shower head and that girl's head is
yeah.
just
Oh,
smoking out
yeah.
of her mouth. I was like, wow, this dude is just.
That was Helene.
Yeah,
right?
I think
I
so.
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that was
She was
her.
snuck off to the engine room. Yeah. Gosh.
And I liked it that they didn't rely on jump scares for the killings. It was just
Yeah.
there, raw killings. It was
Yeah.
suspenseful and delivered well,
Yes.
but it wasn't like, hey, we just set you up for a jump scare,
There's-
until
there
the
was-
next one comes
I
around.
think there was one or two jump scares, but they were very few in this.
Well,
True.
yeah, and that was one of my favorite kills was the bartender
They
who
were
was setting
effective.
up the body and the dummy.
Oh,
with the
yeah.
pickaxe, and he kept opening the door.
That was pretty.
Now,
That was pretty
they
cool.
telegraphed to you the George, the director, he kind of telegraphed to you, like, gave it to you, like, shit, here in a minute, he's going to be really in there and kill him. So he kind of took away the surprise element, but I don't think he did because the bartender did it multiple times, and you're like, yep, here it is. Nope. Here it is. Nope. Shit. Nope. Maybe not. He's going to be behind him. And then about that time, that's when he opens the door and he does kill him. So I think it was very well executed, that it was predictable, but then yet not.
Yeah, it's like you knew it was coming, but it was like you didn't know when. Like you said, just kept teasing you, and then you're like, okay, it's not happening. Boom, and it just hits you right in the mouth with that. Oh my gosh.
Actually,
That was great.
I guess every jump scare doesn't even involve like a kill. Actually, the jump scares that are in this, because like the one jump scare is like when
True.
he's coming up to the car, when TJ's coming up to the car to talk to Axel and like hand him the beer. At first, you think it's gonna be like a slasher moment, but he just like pops in with the beer.
Yeah.
And then like the other one I remember,
That's another-
the other one I remember is like when Axel has the board and you see like the legs and he swings it, but it's just TJ he hits. That was like also like a jump scare where you think, oh, maybe it's the killer,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
Yeah, like Matt touched base on earlier, is your two possibles at that point. Well, three, if you're considering Harry still alive, is Axel, TJ, or Harry. But at that point, they bring them both together at that scene, and he gets hit. So then you're like, you're paying so close attention to how they're reacting to it, to like, oh no, I can't figure out which one it actually is at this point.
Yeah.
And then I also thought that it was pretty ingenious and effective because everyone was riding on the slasher coattails of nudity. It definitely got people in seats or what have you. If you really paid attention, this movie don't show any kind of boob shots.
No.
It don't have no nudity into it. A lot of it's implied. And that was really successful for this movie. And, even though the audience was limited with an R rating because of the kills and gore, I think that was a great thing because it really buckled down on the writing and the direction and the talent put into this to make it effective without going to those things. Now, I'm not going to knock the other movies that do. Okay, it is what it is, and it's effective for them. They could have totally went that route though, and I always noticed that they didn't. And
The closest they
I
got
think
to
has
that,
some kind of valuable.
the closest they got to that was just the opening scene where that girl, like he's undressing, but then you don't see anything. And then the rest of
Correct.
the rest of the movie has nothing else like that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Jason. I'll be honest, I didn't even notice that kind of stuff because when a movie is good enough, or this isn't meant to sound like you were saying, not to knock on other stories or anything, but like yeah, when you don't need that stuff, and you have a good enough story and premise to go off of, that you don't need a crutch of like any kind like that. Maybe again, people can look at things like gore and kills as like a crutch, but I think that those just kind of come natural with like a story, especially like a mystery slasher. So it's like, it's kind of cool though when like the whole runtime can go by in a time period known for, like what you say, gratuitous nudity and sex scenes and stuff, and then next thing you know, it's like, whoa, this was a really, yeah, compelling story, but it had a good mystery angle and a reveal, and it didn't have any of that, so, which is cool, like,
Yeah.
kind of surprising.
Yeah, the story really stood on its own pretty well. Like, it didn't really, like, yeah, like y'all said, no crutches needed. Like, it's just, here it is. No fan service. Like, it's just, it's good.
Yeah, it
And
felt.
some of those movies are great that do that.
Yes.
But at the same aspect, yeah, it really homes in on their creativity and what they got behind. Now, again, there's some great material out there, and these people are well talented that make these movies that do have the nudity in them. But I love watching them a lot of times with my girlfriend, because getting the female point of view on it, how it's just thrown in there to fill seats, or it really does play a part. It's, what would you say, more common sense that it's in there. Et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty interesting to see when, like Matt said, you don't know it yet. You start watching and you're so it's so typical, but then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
This feels less gimmicky.
Yeah, I always think that's cool,
This feels less gimmicky than like other slasher movies from the time.
I agree, and there's another kill that I really appreciated George putting in there, because it is so typical that the boyfriend's got to go pee, and he leaves the girl there, and they're drinking. And he leaves her there. She gets killed. He comes back. He gets killed. But in this instance, he comes back and sees her hanging, and he doesn't get killed there. He actually makes it back to the other group at the party to let them know, shit's gone down, and he's traumatized. He can hardly speak. I really like that. That was kind of a realistic thing where, one of them's going to get killed, but typically they all get killed. They just get separated so the killer can get them, and the other one don't know about it. And as soon as the other one knows, they're killed off, or they're in a being chased scene. So I thought that was great, and I thought that actor really delivered that home when he seen her hanging there, and through the whole thing when they brought him to the sheriff, he was traumatized.
It kind of it's kind of like the opposite of like this, like of Halloween, when like Bob like goes to go get the beer, and then he gets killed, and then Michael comes back and just kills her. Instead of that, it was like the opposite of that, where like they actually lived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like a similar scene.
Intentionally wanted to traumatize them.
Yeah, it was like a similar scene, but what you expect to happen doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody over the years talking about Axel, like, oh, that's just unrealistic. He wouldn't. And then it was like, well, no, actually, if you do some research, or if you've ever been part of like, the murder mysteries or the serial killers, TV shows or podcasts like in Hacked, then you'll know that a lot of the doctors and research on there, that because they see certain things as a child, doesn't mean they go totally against it. They can go either or, and it's kind of like the a kid traumatized, either go full blown into it or pretty much totally against it. And I thought that was believable, and at the same time, the aspect that Axel was back probably promoted him to do so because he could get away with it. He could kill this guy who's moving in on his girl, messing shit up, and he could get away with killing him, killing other people, and killing him. Everyone's going to think it's,
Harry Warden.
Harvey Dent. No, I'm kidding. But Harry Warden, and and he could totally get away with it. Problem solved.
Yeah,
she can be the final girl. She lives.
Right. That's a cool way of breaking it down.
That's kind of. I feel like that's how he thought it would play out.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's the story build up and the outcome that you think.
Yeah, Axel really thought that he was going to succeed in that, and he just thought he would live happily ever after with her while everybody else is dead and they think, oh, Harry Warden did it. So he thought he was going to just succeed in all of that.
Also, real quick side note on Axel. You guys know about him, Neil Affleck?
Oh.
He's an actor. He's also in Scanners. That's at least what I've seen him in also. But he is actually known for becoming an animator in the 90s.
Oh.
And he worked on Simpsons for, I think, 13 years or something.
Wow.
Wow, didn't know that.
As well as Family Guy.
That's the guy that played
Axel. So very talented. Yeah. So
nice.
He's had a pretty cool career, it sounds like.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Do you think he's related?
It is pretty awesome.
Do you think he's related to a certain group of brothers known as Ben and Casey?
It sounds like he's not. I think he's Canadian. I think so. I don't know if they're. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Afflecks.
He's gonna be Batman's cousin.
I thought also the fight on the rail cars was pretty good for its time.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
They were, of course, low budget, so you kind of, I'm not sure if stunt doubles were there and how much, but it looked real convincing. Them trying to move on the cars as they're moving. He's taking swings with the pickaxe. That added another level of anxiety to the scene instead of a typical. He's chasing them down the hallway. It's claustrophobic. You totally had that intensity of, man, I can't get to the next bucket that fast because I'm bouncing, trying to get her out of here, myself out of here, and this dude's catching in on me. And, of course, Harry, he's just stepping from cart to cart as they're trying to climb. So I think it added to the anxiety for myself as appreciating what it could do to an audience that has never seen it before, or like how I lived it as being a child. But just even every time I watch it, I just think that was a great throw in.
Yeah, that's I kind of wish I had watched this younger because I felt like it would have been more I don't know, more successful on me if I was a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Because
I like the end fight scene. That was really well choreographed and stuff. It just was really high stakes and just that was awesome.
Yeah, because that
was cool that they were. Go ahead.
I watched the original Halloween when I was 12, so that was the first slasher movie I ever saw, and it kind of really resonated with me. So I wonder if I had watched this around the same time, if it would have hit the same way Halloween did.
It's sort of how I had with Halloween and Black Christmas around the same time, and those both were oh man, these are some good ass movies, man. And then this is I love this. I thought this was really cool. I would watch this again for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Oh, I say that only because I don't rewatch a ton of movies. I try to spend a lot of time watching things I've never seen before. So this is always super cool to experience something like this. Older classic.
Yeah, I try to do both, but it's a hell of a juggle,
Yeah.
Sometimes I do a reference and she's like, "Oh, what?" And I'm like, "Oh, that was from The Town. You never seen The Town, Well, let me get this off the shelf. We gotta watch this." But then
I'll still revisit, certain movies, favorites and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm really trying. I'm looking at my watch list, every here and there, and I'm it's in it's thousands. And I have so many movies I want to watch, and it's If I really want to start making a dent on that, I need to start just seeing things I haven't seen. Just get watch.
Give me that Social Security money now.
Yes. All the movies.
Do you think, Jacob, that I know you're an adult watching it for the first time, but do you think the kid in you would have been kind of horrified or bothered by if you would have seen it then?
Oh yeah. Back when I was a kid, I got scared from Ernest Scared Stupid because of that troll in it. So yeah, I would have pooped my pants watching this.
So this would have been intense for you.
Gosh, very intense. I would not be able to sleep for a week. Like it would have been interesting though to see it when I was younger though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I was like born in like '97, so like yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, it had that where he's still alive at the end. Like, you know, my grandma, she turned me on to Michael Myers the first Halloween, and she hyped it up, of course. So when we get the end of it, me being a kid, I was like, man, he's still out there. Where, you know?
Yeah.
Are you sure they didn't catch him? You know?
When I watched
Chainsaw
that
Massacre was like that because you're like, oh, he's still alive. What the shit? And then Bloody Valentine, I of course watched that by myself because, you know, my dad was drunk, passed out, and I'm like, oh, looky here, I get to watch this, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess being by myself in the dark too just really played into it because I'm just like, oh, he got away, that, you know, creepy dude, and the other ones don't talk.
Yes.
You know? The other killers don't talk, but this dude's like,
Yeah.
oh, I see it, you know, and you're just like,
well said.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess
maybe
like
that
that,
added
there's
to
so
it too.
Was he like, okay, so let's think of that then.
He was more human
So,
than most of the
is
other
he
slashers.
Yeah, so is he one of the first that actually had dialogue and, you know,
I
like
think
a
so.
voice like that? Because think about it, what Nightmare on Elm Street was, what, 84?
Yeah.
Child's Play was 85, I think. Like,
the only thing you could touch base on was probably be Billy from '75 Black Christmas, you know, talking on the phone and shit. Or,
that's true.
Good point. Yeah.
Stranger Calls.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
other
guess
than
there's,
that,
like,
I think Matt's right though. It was
This was the first like
a lot of
masked
silent
killer.
killers.
This was the first like masked killer that could like speak, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
What did you think?
Yeah,
about,
man, where's number 2?
Yeah, what did you think about the effects, the gore quality in that? Because we all have our opinion, but I know Matt's girlfriend, she does makeup effects, and Kody, when we were watching Hacked, he was, you know, pointing that thing, you know, that out to me, and it was very real and convincing on her talent that she did for Hacked. And the amount of money they had for the budget, I mean, it was top notch. I mean, I didn't really see no flaws in there. So did you guys think that, you know, the gore was definitely there and believable, or it just looked too, you know, cheesy or what have you?
No, I thought it was cool, man. I like a lot of that personally. Especially older. I mean, this is what, 40... This year's 42 years old.
Yeah.
Very high quality.
Effects are hard. Effects are really hard. Like, just from watching people do them.
And
like,
none of this was CG.
Of course,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
all
Yeah, it
practical.
wasn't around yet. Yeah.
Yes.
So like, yeah, it's just seeing it. Like, I got to PA on one of the Puppet Master spinoffs, and so I got to see like the cool stuff with puppets and like how that works, and it's like, and you can see the challenges too, like, you know, when you got tight schedules to shoot things, and then on our own little films are not a ton of money spent, but it's still their own hurdles and challenges to pull off certain effects or kill or whatever it may be, and then you see it in other low budget films or step up like this, and I have more just an appreciation for it all, like the differences, like in a giallo film. Brighter blood, like I don't like criticize it. Like, I love seeing dark, you know, realistic looking blood, but at the same time, there is a lane and a space for the bright, kind of stylistic, approach too for
Yeah,
blood. And,
I think
and stuff.
depending
So I
on
think that's really cool.
depending on the film, it works better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was actually, I guess, a criticism to My Bloody Valentine because of the dryer scene with the town lady. They were like, "Oh, well, the blood there was too light," and George, the director, was like, "But that's what it would be like if it was dried in a dryer for so amount of time. It ain't gonna be, it's gonna be dried, burnt, kind of stained."
Yeah, so he
blood
was
at that
thinking
point.
about that kind of
That's
stuff.
gnarly.
And it's true because the other blood I never noticed that until I read that. In fact, because the blood and the rest of it was pretty dark. It was a darker colored blood.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's a big thing with the special effects teams of making the blood look real, and they get to use Hershey syrup in black and white because the red will show up gray.
That kind of
lighting and everything can affect it.
That kind of shows like how good of a director he was, though, that he actually thought about that when a lot of slasher movies just wouldn't really care. They would just do whatever anyways. That he actually thought about what it would look like being in the dryer for so long and stuff. Because somebody else might have just done blood like the way people expected, instead of how it would maybe more look.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to raise some money from Matt to make the part 2, the Forever Lost sequel.
Oh, dude, no! I bet you, I'm too much of a noob to this specific film. You'd have to get somebody that's a diehard like yourself, probably.
Hell, we
direct.
get Quinn in here to play like Jason Thunder, but like in a Dr. Loomis role, chasing down here.
Oh, there you go! Oh man, that would be.
We could have him. We could have him just play Rick Danger then. Rick Danger, Rick Danger going after the pickaxe murderer.
It's been a while since he's played that.
Yeah.
But man, that's funny. Yeah, why haven't they done another, man? That's bizarre that they just did the reimagining of the remake,
We'll probably jump in on the
many actors that
office and budget, like you said, Matt. Probably when we do the remake one, because I can't wait to get on that because I think that's underrated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I remember not being a huge fan of it when I saw it, but I'm interested to go watch it again because I feel like a long time has passed since then, and my mind.
Yeah, let's not talk like too much about like the other movies, just so because we'll get to those eventually.
No, totally. For this next week, yeah, I'm just excited to revisit it because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely say I do like this one more, though. That's all I will say about the other one, is that I like this one more.
Yes. It's definitely a classic.
Remakes are hard to gauge and hard to top originals most of the time, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because look at Gus Van Sant. He did a phenomenal job of mimicking Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Yeah.
But I
shot,
appreciate it, and it's funny having Vince Vaughn in there and, Julian Moore and William H. Macy. But, man, I prefer throwing in the Alfred Hitchcock one. I mean, that thing's just...
We're gonna have to do
GM,
We're gonna have to do some Gus Van Sant movies on here because like that guy's movies are pretty creative.
Yeah, he's got
a
great
fucking job on that movie. I mean, he had that. I mean, I don't know how many takes he had to put those people through to get that scene to mimic identically to Hitchcock. So I appreciate him for that because sometimes they take risks and it's great risks. Sometimes it's not, but. Definitely, a lot of the remakes. There's a lot of good talk about that.
Can we do that for a second? Can we just it's not like a crazy sidetrack because there is a remake for this next week. But could we talk about? Do you guys have any favorite horror remakes? Like, it doesn't have to be that you think it's better than the original, but you're like, oh
yeah, I definitely do.
I think this remake is. Do you guys each kind of have one? Or
I have three. I have three I can name.
I
have three I can name off the top of my head.
I would love to hear them personally.
The Thing, The Blob, and The Fly.
Yeah, you're talking about Carpenter's
All
The Thing.
those.
Yeah, because that is yeah. You can't top that one. That is totally the best remake.
Well, also The Fly and The
The
Blob.
Thing and The Fly. Yeah, Carpenter's The Fly. Yeah, dude, The Fly.
Yes.
And then you're talking about The Blob. Obviously, not the Steve McQueen. You're talking about the, was it in the 90s? 90 or
Matt
80s. Yeah,
And
Matt Dillon.
Chuck Russell.
80s, right?
And then
Yeah.
also
Chuck Russell was the director. He also did
Shawnee-
Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Shawnee Smith, isn't that her name?
Yeah.
From the Saw franchise?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, she's in The Blob from
Yeah,
1988.
and
That's cool.
yeah,
So
she
you
was
said
also in
yes.
the Gary Sinise, The Stand.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
The Steve McQueen? Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are the 3 best horror remakes.
Maybe we should come back with our which ones we like, because I was going to say that I know it's touche, but definitely My Bloody Valentine was in my top 5, top 6 because of how they didn't necessarily rewrite the story, but they kind of did, but still kept to the original. And I thought it was done.
Don't
really well
don't talk about
the outcome.
don't talk about the 2009 movie.
I'm not. That's it.
Let me
go outside.
preface- I was gonna say, Jacob, do you have any or no?
I haven't really watched too many remakes. I've been meaning to watch the Evil Dead remake, so I love the Evil Dead trilogy. I know there's the 2013 remake, which I heard is pretty good, but
It's not really a
I'll
remake.
watch that before the next one.
But hey, it's still in the ballpark of what these are: reimagining,
Yeah.
a reboot, a remake.
Well, it's actually a
I
sequel.
would put that up in the top.
It's actually a
5.
sequel.
The Evil Dead one from
Yeah.
2015. Still, but it was a rebrand. It's called Evil
Yeah,
Dead.
yeah,
The same
yeah.
way Scream 5 was called Scream, and they're calling Scream 6 Scream 6. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But I would totally say though that Evil Dead one was cool, even if it's not a remake necessarily.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite horror films ever is the original Fright Night. So I'm not saying the remake is better because it can't be, but I do like the Fright Night remake. I think that's an interesting take on like that stuff, and Colin Farrell was actually a really good casting choice. For that role.
So out of the
I like some of
4
the new risks they took.
out of the 4 Fright Night films, I've seen 0 of them.
I thought Jason just shakes his head no. I always had just a wow face like, oh.
What?
Because I know
Well,
there's
it's funny with me because we always have movies we haven't seen.
Absolutely.
Whatever. So it's always a thing amongst shared. But I like sometimes, especially with my friends, I'm like, dude, what? You're an American.
Yeah.
You ain't seen that.
Yes.
So,
No,
even the viewers don't take offense to if I shake my head or a little harsh about it. Just my little thing on having the one up on all of you movie fanatics. Like, oh, you ain't seen that one? Shit. But
there's so many I haven't seen, that I've
you gotta
missed
definitely
that are
check out
classic.
The Evil Dead, and I agree with you on Fright Night. It got a lot of slack, and the original is just phenomenal. But I really do, and I bought the remake of Friday Night. I really liked it, and I liked how Peter Vincent was portrayed as kind of like a Nikki Sixx,
Yes, yeah.
Crew, kind of a
a
David
theatrical-
Copperfield type thing. Yeah, and
So,
just
the reason-
like-
you know.
Adapting it for the time period,
So the reason I never watched the Fright Night movies is I think both Fright Night 2s are both out of print.
But you can find it online now. People upload it, I think, to like either the archive or just to YouTube now, so
Okay.
you can watch Fright Night 2 like online now.
Because there's 2
Oh,
Fright
like
Night
which
2s. There's 2 Fright Night 2s, and I think they're both out of print. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, you could get the Friday Night. He's right. The remake Friday Night 2 is at Super Mega Replay here in Evansville, so you can find copies now. The older version, you can still get it. I'm not gonna throw anybody underneath the bus, but I had someone make the cover and get it. For me in a pretty good format. So if you
For
ever
the
wanna
second one?
see it. Yes, let me know, because I used to love the cover art for it. It was just beautiful.
It is.
Simple, but very beautiful.
Yeah.
The
You
Friday
guys
Night
wanna know what
2?
I'm
The
talking
Friday
about,
Night
just
2's
look it
cover
up.
art?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just the white, the eyes.
Oh, with the
things.
face.
Gosh, it was just so
Yeah,
effective.
it's a cool cover. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that from an artist standpoint, that was an underrated poster. But
One other thing about
yeah, you
Fright
still get your
Night.
hands on the movie. But
One other thing about Fright Night that so I've never seen them, but when I worked at a Dollar General like several years ago, we had a copy of the remake Fright Night 2, like the sequel to the remake. We had a copy of that on Blu-ray at my Dollar General, and we had like the movie thing kind of near the cash register. And like this little kid walked up and saw the cover of Fright Night 2 and was like getting scared. And he's like, "Mommy, mommy," and the mom just walked up and put another movie in front of it.
that's awesome.
That's great.
So I was gonna say also real quick, one that I dig a lot was I really like the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Actually, it was different.
I've seen
It's
that.
also a remake still.
Zack Snyder,
It's
yeah.
Yeah,
Actually-
it was like his first movie. I think I dug like how it was kind of
Actually, fun fact.
refreshing.
Fun fact, I've only seen Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I haven't seen George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
I've seen the original, but it's been so many years, and the thing is, you can't just like stream it. And then there's the restored version out there now. I haven't seen that, so if you do go watching it, maybe that'd be the route to go. I know I've been eyeballing some that are like
I got it on
$59.
Yeah, I got it on tape somewhere around here. The original.
Oh, on
yeah.
VHS?
Tape's the way to go.
Yeah,
the way
I
to go.
think it's in one of my spots.
But yeah, I think we've kind of said most of what we can say about My Bloody Valentine, unless somebody else has any extra sort of thoughts or...
Nope.
Thanks for humoring the remake talk too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many out there. It's bad, but so many that are so good.
Yeah, like that's like my point. I think is that like while people rag on remakes a lot, I think it's worth noting that like, hey, sometimes there's some merit and like a new kind of feeling and stuff to remakes that can bring like a new audience in.
Like 100%.
I love
100%, I don't think there's a better remake than The Fly, The Thing, or The Blob. I think those are the best three remakes.
I agree. I do agree, and I would say also, again, not better than the original, but I did all, and I know like that someone will. This one, I don't know how everyone's gonna feel about this. Did you guys all see the Child's Play remake?
I
Yes.
liked it.
What did you think?
At first, I didn't, but I did like it. I had to rewatch it a second time to get that imprint, I guess, out of my head, and I really love the risk and the new take they went upon it with the AI. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah, we'll cover all of those.
kinda like
We'll cover all those
that.
eventually. We'll cover those eventually.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. I won't talk any more about it, but yeah, I think that. Yeah, cool to see like them do something different than like you were talking about earlier with like Psycho, as opposed to doing a shot-for-shot version. Like,
Yeah,
Definitely. Where a
I kind of-
fresh idea plays a part.
on this podcast, I just kind of want to keep talks of other movies separate because we will like cover other stuff.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I didn't mean to.
So next time we'll have to have some drinks here. So if everyone brings up another movie, then party.
Oh,
you're gonna have to
shit.
Drink.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
here we go.
Yeah, next
I'll be
time
gone real quick.
I guess
yeah.
I guess like my
Hey man, you seen that one movie?
I guess my like my final sort of thoughts are like just like this is definitely I feel like one of the best 80s slasher movies, and I feel like it's kind of not talked about as much as it should be.
And I agree with you, and I really hope people, if they haven't seen it, see the podcast and go out and see it, or just randomly stumble across it and give it a chance and really let it simmer in on them, especially like Matt brought up a lot of circumstances of the timing and the year that this was put together, and the detail and time it took into it.
Very kind of atmospheric too.
Genuine. Oh, very, yeah.
Yes.
And somebody somewhere can relate to this movie on any kind of level.
Yeah.
They worked in a mine. Your dad did. You had a breakup. We didn't establish that, but I think it was definitely good. And just touching base on him throwing out his Matt's opinion earlier. Opinions are all welcome on here, even the comments. So if the audience is watching, feel free to, hammer us or not. No one's going to take offense. This ain't going to be the Last Jedi backlash, But yeah, great, because I think every remake you guys have mentioned was really great. Kind of opened my eyes, like, I forgot about that one, So if anyone else has any more, feel free to throw them out in there, even though they weren't mentioned on the podcast or whatever.
I think this is. I think it's like kind of safe to assume that we're kind of all on the same page on this like movie, like how we all feel about it.
Yes.
I think
Again, I give it a 5 because I'm biased. I'll be honest with you. I'm just completely biased.
Yeah, because it's something you saw.
Building it from nothing up to a 4 or a 3, but then there's a little extra, sprinkle of my biased history with it that bounces up to a 5. So if someone wants to, tear me apart for it, that's fine. They probably are right, but that's just me being honest about it. And it just kind of like him talking about Fright Night. Oh, I got a drink.
That's just you being honest.
I wouldn't watch the remake.
That's just
and I wouldn't.
It's just you being honest, John, about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch the Fright Night remake for the longest time because of that. I was being racist against it. I was like, no,
racist against a movie.
We're not going to do it. Well, I was just like, I ain't gonna. They better not be touching my Fright Night.
Conservative about it.
But when I finally gave it a chance, I loved it. I had to go out and buy it, and it's just a common thing that if we didn't like something, we definitely ought to revisit it. As a society, to really give another person's perspective into play.
Yeah, I think people should.
Like it, then so be it.
I think people should maybe watch movies that they didn't really care for again, like maybe years later or something.
I've had my opinion change on some by doing that, and I think time, life experience.
I've also had I've had movies that I liked and ended up not liking as much on repeat viewings too. I've had both ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think
there's so many factors too. There's times I've watched some and I was tired. I was like, I didn't care for that, and everyone's like, "What?" They figured that being right up your alley. So I'm like, okay. So I rewatch it, and then I'm like, "What? How did I not like that on the first time around?" Oh, wait a minute, I was tired, or I was hungover, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta revisit some for sure at some point in my life. But I was like, not for me. But hey, maybe.
But yeah, I think that'll kind of do it for this episode. So thank you everybody for watching. If you liked watching this, feel free to like hit the like button or like comment, share, subscribe, because that would help out. Any of that would help out. So yeah, so thanks everybody for watching, and we hope that maybe you check this movie out and watch the podcast.
Bye.